Spring practice begins on Monday for Tennessee football, and we're going to break down what will be the most improved position group for the Tennessee Volunteers, the secondary. All that and more. Tennessee's big win in the NCAA Tournament. That's coming up here on your Friday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, good people? Welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols, and I am your host, Eric Kane. So glad that you have elected to hang out with me here today. In real time, this recording is late night after Tennessee's win over Louisiana in the round of 64, moving on to play Duke, the 5th seed. And it's going to be a nice little 4-5 matchup for a chance at a Sweet 16 berth that's coming up on Saturday. We'll get into that Tennessee win over Louisiana in segment number 2. We'll preview Duke in segment number 3, all that and more. But going to talk about the secondary here in segment number 1, little Tennessee football with spring practice getting going here on Monday. As always, guys, you know the drill. Please subscribe on this YouTube channel. Let's continue to build this channel so we can get it in front of more Vol fans, and that would be the goal right there. And, of course, thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every day, unless your name is Matthew Osborne. You can find this wherever you find your podcast. All right, let's get into it. Tennessee, the secondary. All right, we've talked about the linebackers and the defensive line and all the other offensive positions as we kind of preview what's to come here for Tennessee in spring practice. But the secondary is going to be the most improved position group because, quite frankly, guys, it was so bad. It was so bad in 2022, right? It was second to last in the SEC, giving up just a little over 200 yards through the air a game. Going into the Vanderbilt game, it was just a fraction, or a little less than 200 yards a game. Going into the Vanderbilt game, the last game of the regular season, it was just a fraction better than Vanderbilt for last in the SEC, but a really good showing. Vanderbilt couldn't get anything going, so that brought the average down a little bit. And of course, they had a pretty decent showing against Clemson in the Orange Bowl down there in Miami. I think I got a little tongue-tied on yesterday's show. That does happen. But nonetheless, there's got to be a whole lot of improvements. Made in the defensive secondary for Tennessee. And like I said a couple days ago, it all kind of ties in, right? If you can consistently get after the passer with your front four, you can play zone and free up some more men on the back end. So there can be some guys running over the top and can help out, right? And so that's kind of the goal right there. But what's the personnel look like heading into spring practice for the University of Tennessee? Well, when you look at the safety position, you have Trayvon Flowers, who is no longer with the team, so I guess you don't technically have him. But Trayvon Flowers, no longer with the team. He left. He graduated pursuing an NFL tenure there, and he'll have his pro day coming up. But you bring back safeties Jalen McCullough, who's been a 4-year starter essentially. You bring back safety Wesley Walker, who split time between safety and the star position during his first season on Rocky Top, coming over from Georgia Tech. You have backups like Andre Turrentine, who made his way from Ohio State to Tennessee last offseason. Jordan Thomas, who was a true freshman that really played well on special teams. I think this is a big spring for him as well. I really like his makeup in terms of his explosiveness, his speed, his want-to, his hit sticks. We'll see kind of what he looks like and where he kind of files in terms of the pecking order at the safety position. You also have freshmen coming into that safety spot like Jack Luttrell and John Slaughter, going to be trying to kind of figure out where they stand in the defensive secondary as well. That's at the safety position. At the star position, you have at the star position, you have Wesley Walker, of course, who can play star. You have Tamarian McDonald, who is a guy who can play star. And I'll be intrigued to see who else kind of practices at that star position, maybe in an emergency situation. But pretty much it was a Tamarian McDonald, Wesley Walker show last year. And with Wesley Walker looking like he's going to be more of a safety, Tamarian McDonald played pretty well on that, but of course he can always improve. Cornerback might be the biggest question mark on this team. Warren Burrell was injured in week 2 and missed the rest of the season, but he's been pretty much a 3-year starter, and he's not been great, but he's a guy who is experienced. You have Kamal Haddon, who might be the most experienced guy, or might be the most the highest ceiling type guy, but consistency and composure are two big issues for him. He just can't keep it under wraps, right? Remember the South Carolina game? Goodness gracious, how embarrassing was that? You've got guys like Brandon Turnage, who has proven that he can play at this level, and he's made some plays, but he's also missed a lot of time. He's been injured. You got Deshaun Rucker, who's seen some significant playing time so far through his first couple of years on Rocky Top. You bring in Gabe Judy-Lally, who had a great Pro Football Focus grade overall for his one of his years. I guess it'd be his junior or senior year at BYU, and he comes to Rocky Top, formerly of the SEC at Vanderbilt as well, looking to play right away, and I think he needs to play right away. You have incoming freshmen like Jordan Matthews, who was a big time win for Tennessee, and a guy that's going to come in here and press for snaps immediately. You've got Ricky Gibson, who is a 4-star prospect cornerback, and from the state of Alabama that no one's really even talking about, that I think can do some things. Then you have Christian Conyer, arguably the best player from the state of Kentucky, coming in this class as well. And then you have two guys like Danico Slaughter and Christian Charles. Where are they going to play? You guys have heard me say this repeatedly. I think Danico Slaughter is one of your best cornerbacks, and he should be over there. We'll see if he lines up there at cornerback to begin spring practice. Christian Charles never looked comfortable at cornerback. Let's see if he can go back to safety. I'm intrigued to see where those guys line up, and I'm going to count them right here. Not counting Trayvon Flowers, but of the returners coming back here who played significant time for Tennessee at points and times last year. Jalen McCullough's 1, Wesley Walker's 2, Danico Slaughter's 3, Christian Charles is 4, Warren Burrell is 5, Kamal Haddon is 6, Brandon Turnage is 7, Deshaun Rucker is 8. I mean, that's 8 guys right there. That is 8 guys right there that played significant snaps for Tennessee last year over the course of a period of time. Even Deshaun Rucker. I mean, Deshaun Rucker, sure, he didn't play an awful lot, but he was out there in the Alabama game playing big-time snaps against Alabama, So it was injury-riddled, and it was not good in terms of production at all at times last year. But I think the secondary as a whole has got so much experience now, and you're adding to that room with Gabe Judy-Lally. And you have a guy like Danico Slaughter who can maybe settle in and figure it out. You've got to get more athletic and quicker at the safety positions. I'm intrigued to see if Jalen McCullough is a guy that can hold down that starting spot, or if Jordan Thomas can push him, if Andre Turrentine can push him, if some of these other guys, John Slaughter, a freshman, can push him. I'm intrigued with that, and of course we all want to know who's going to start a cornerback. So cornerback, a lot of returners, a lot of names. Safety, the defensive backfield rather, cornerback, nickelback, safety. A lot of returners, a lot of names that we've heard of. They've even added to that group. But what's that pecking order going to be? And then when you figure out what that pecking order is going to be leaving spring practice, is there anybody that's going to leave from that group? I mean, we've seen a lot of these guys play, and I can't tell you, if I'm trying to make my best combination right now from what I know, I guess I'd say Wesley Walker at safety. Probably Jalen McCullough at safety. I'm saying that because I don't know who else. Christian Charles, I've seen Christian Charles play like 5 snaps at safety before getting hurt against Missouri in 2021. Okay, so it's easy. There's those of you guys out there that says, I'll just throw Christian Charles back there and put him back at safety. He's a natural safety anyway. Well, that's great, but I've never seen him play safety, neither of you, outside of a couple snaps. Okay, we've seen him play quarterback, but he was hurt the majority of last year, if you remember. So I don't know. If I'm picking my best guys right now, heading into spring, the 2 safeties, I guess, would be Jalen McCullough and Wesley Walker, saying, hey, Jordan Thomas, hey, Andre Turrentine, hey, Christian Charles, come and take it. Seriously, let's compete. Your 2 best cornerbacks, Danico Slaughter and Gabe Judy-Lally. I know he's a new guy, and I've seen people even say, well, he's new. He needs to earn it. Your secondary was pathetic last year. If you're going and getting in here from the transfer portal, it's because the coaches value what you can do. Come in here and earn it. Sure, I get that. Come in here and earn it, but it's not like you have to wait your time to play here at Tennessee because the people in front of you were inconsistent. So, nonetheless, I'll be intrigued to see kind of what's going on there. I guess I'd say Gabe Judy-Lally and Danico Slaughter, and then your star player would be Tamir McDonald. But there's going to be a lot of movement there. There's going to be a whole lot of interesting ways to go about it, and I think spring will go a long way in that regard. So we will see. Hey, when we come back here, of course, spring practice is going to begin on Monday, and we'll have live coverage here at Locked On Vols, recapping what I see from practice and good stuff throughout the rest of over the month of spring practice. But all starts on Monday. Really, really looking forward to that. We will come back and discuss that Tennessee win over Louisiana. That is coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. But first, I want to remind you guys about our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel Sportsbook, the March Madness NCAA Tournament, it's happening right now, and the NBA season is continuing on. There's no better time to download the FanDuel Sportsbook app than right now. It's America's #1 sportsbook because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It is safe, it is secure, and it is super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to the point scores to even three-pointers drained. You can bet on the spread, the total, the money line, whatever you want, individual player props such as points, rebounds, assists, etc. Whatever you guys want, you can get it over there at FanDuel Sportsbook. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with same-game parlay. Don't miss a chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, guys, welcome back into it. Your Friday edition of Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Eric Kane. Appreciate you guys hanging out here with us today, making it your Locked On Vols your first listen every day. Make sure to check out the brand new podcast that's Locked On College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball is all in one place. No better time than right now during the NCAA Tournament. Give those guys a listen to Locked On College Basketball, your second listen here today. All right, so we talked a little spring football in segment number 1. We are going to talk a little Duke and preview that Duke basketball game in the round of 32 for Saturday coming up in segment number 3. But you guys know it. We got to hit Tennessee and Louisiana here. Recap what was a literally survive in advance for the Tennessee Volunteers, all right? Listen, I know you're excited Tennessee won and moved on. I'm happy Tennessee won and moved on. I think we can all agree that Tennessee is not at full strength right now. Tennessee is not playing its best basketball right now, but sometimes all that matters is surviving and advancing, and that is exactly what Tennessee did on Thursday night. Tennessee got away with shooting 57% from the free throw line. Tennessee got away from shooting 25% from three. Tennessee got away with turning the ball over 18 times. Tennessee got away with only 3 points from Santiago Vescovi. Tennessee survives. Never in doubt, right? Well, it was considerably in doubt there towards the end, but Tennessee was able to overcome all that. It was held scoreless, or it was held, over from the field from the last 5:31 of this basketball game. And so many different times, Tennessee's not been able to close the door. Auburn, Missouri, and you thought for a second there that it was going to be like that here, Vanderbilt, Missouri earlier in the regular season. You thought for a second there it was going to be like that against Louisiana in the opening round of the NCAA tournament, but Tennessee was able to hold off, figure some things out, make a stop or two, hit a couple of free throws, and pull out a 3-point win, 58-55 over Louisiana. So, Tennessee does move on. It will face Duke. We'll talk more about Duke here in just a moment, but let's break down what was Tennessee over Louisiana. 46% from the field for the Volunteers. Again, that's not bad. Tennessee's offense, in the absence of Zakai Ziegler, has not been the issue. It's been the defense, right? And 55 points, surrendering only 55 points, that's a pretty good stat for Tennessee here in round number 1. But it's, the offense, they've been shooting the ball pretty well. 46% from the field, only 25% from three, however. It's connected on only 4 of 16 from long range. So the long ball was not working for Tennessee in this basketball game. Again, you could put away games at the end by just hitting your dadgum free throws, right? 12 of 21. Like, what are you doing? It's just saying, hey, I don't want to win this game, is what you're saying when you go 12 of 21 from the charity stripe in the NCAA tournament. It's like, what are you doing here? But I mean, here he is, and Tennessee's still able to find a way, right? 12 turnovers in the first half, only 6 in the second half. Tennessee started, I want to say, the first 7, maybe 8 minutes of the second half without turning the ball over, so that was a nice little stretch there. But what I think really put this game in control for Tennessee was that run towards the end of the first half. Tennessee closed the first half strong, leading Louisiana 30-19 at the break. Into the first half on an 11-0 run, making 5 of its last 6 shots from the field. Uros actually led the team with 7 points in the first half, perfect 3 for 3 from the field. Tyreek Key, Jemai Meshack scored 6 apiece. And again, Santiago Vescovi, we spoke on it a little bit, had 3 points in the first half. He ended with just 3 points in 27 minutes played. So he only took 3 shots. Again, he was a complete non-factor for Tennessee. If Tennessee's going to beat Duke in the round of 32, Santiago Vescovi has got to score double figures. Point blank. That's just fact. He needs to score like 15 or 20, to be completely honest with you. But Tennessee did control that last stretch of the first half. took control, led by as many as 18 early in the second half, but again, let Louisiana creep back in, and then ultimately just squeaked out a 3-point game for, Tennessee. But again, for all that to go wrong, okay, I know I'm just kind of like hounding on him right now, but for all of that to go wrong and still win a game in the NCAA tournament, survive and advance. Name of the game this time of the year. That's all you got to do. Survive and advance. And Tennessee did just that, 58-55, the final score over Louisiana. You had Jordan Brown, the really, really good player for Louisiana, the former 5-star McDonald All-American, finished the game with 16 points. He had 12 points in the first half. But everybody else, there was 15 from Julian, which was pretty good, 11 from Delcourt. Those are the only other guys that finished in double figures, 8 from Lewis. But kind of like what I said in the Locked On crossover on Wednesday with our guy David Schultz, if you can, let him get his a little bit, but kind of shut down everybody else, I think Tennessee's going to win this game, and that's kind of what happened there. And he didn't even go off for that much. I mean, 16 is a good number, but he's averaging 19 points a game this season. But Tennessee able to kind of do all that. Turnovers continue to be an issue. The lack of point guard presence continues to be an issue. There was that time in the first half when, Josiah Jordan James is at the right, corner or right wing, I believe, and he's looking at Toby Awaka, and he throws the ball, and Awaka's not even looking, and he's going to set a screen. It just goes out of bounds, and that's another turnover. That's just, not having a point guard on the floor, not having a good floor presence, and I'm not a basketball coach. I'm not sure whose fault that is. Is it Josiah's for throwing the pass when no one's looking? Should Awaka been looking at? I don't know. Again, I'm not versed in the X's and O's of basketball to kind of, place blame on that. But that was a silly turnover, and I think that's just another excuse of why Tennessee just really, really misses Zakai Ziegler in the worst way. But Tennessee is able to kind of pull it out there. 46% from the field. Tennessee's shooting well, and Duke's going to be a really good presence. Duke's going to be a long presence. Duke got off on like 11-0 run against Oral Roberts on Thursday. So if you play this type of basketball, if you go scoreless for 6 minutes of game action, if you go the last 5:31 of the ball game without making a field goal, then you're going to lose that game. But against an inferior opponent such as Louisiana, Tennessee was able to use that suffocating defense and carve out a victory here. 11 points from Josiah Mashak. I thought he was really good. And who would have thought, a couple of weeks ago we'd be saying Josiah Mashak is the guy you want the ball in his hands at the end of the game. But here we are watching Tennessee against Louisiana and saying, get the ball to Josiah Mashak. And I mean, man, how far he has come, right? He finished with 11 points, 12 points for Tyreek Key, who didn't shoot the ball incredibly well, 4 of 11, 1 of 5 from 3, but shot it well enough and provided that spark off the bench, again, on a night where Santiago Vescovi scored only 3 points. He was pushed to the bench in the first half with 2 early fouls and only played 7 minutes in the first half of play. Santiago Vescovi ended the game with 27 minutes played, but still only those 3 points scored. So, again, there's not much really to say about this one, right? Tennessee shot the ball well. Tennessee turned the ball over so many times. Tennessee's best scorer did not contribute whatsoever. Tennessee didn't shoot the ball well from 3. Tennessee was atrocious at the field goal line, but Tennessee was able to force 14 turnovers. Tennessee was able to suffocate at the perimeter and allow only 55 field goals attempts for the Raging Cajuns in this one, limiting Louisiana to only 55 points, and Tennessee's able to carve out a 3-point win. So a good win for Tennessee, and that's what you want to see, of course. If any of this if you're remembering some previous tournaments for Tennessee, if you remember back in 2018 and in 2022, just last year, UT won easily in the first round before losing in the second round. In 2019, Tennessee won by 7 and won in the second round. So again, it's tournament basketball. You can never point to one thing or the other thing and say, okay, well, this happened, so this means this is going to happen this year. It's pure madness. I mean, we already saw it in day one. Your bracket is busted, and my bracket does not look very good. It just kind of is what it is. Name of the game is survive and advance. That's what Tennessee did against Louisiana. But boy, oh boy, you're gonna have to correct some things in 2 days or tomorrow. I mean, before you go up against Duke. Again, Duke is not the Duke of old this year. Duke is very mortal this season, but they're playing really, really well. I think Tennessee can beat Duke. I do, even without Zakai Ziegler. But Tennessee's got to tighten some things up, and at least getting that opportunity to play the Blue Devils on Saturday. That's what Tennessee earned with a 58-55 win over Louisiana. And the 9:40 tip, actually it was tipped at 9:33, so able to get in and get out a little bit earlier, saved about 15 minutes, or saved about 7 minutes, which was nice. So that was good, but nonetheless, Tennessee's able to move on, and that's a good thing. So we'll see about Tennessee, the 4 seed, Duke, the 5 seed, coming up on Saturday, and we'll recap it all on Monday's Locked On Vols, as we always do. Now, I want to tell you about our friends over at Built Bar. The Built March Madness bracket is here. We know you have your favorite bar or puff, and you know what mine is as well. It's time to go make yours count. Go to BuiltMarchMadness.com to vote for your favorites. You know I'll be voting for the cookies and cream bar. And if you're a member, if you're a fan of Locked On Vols, if you're a fan of the Tennessee Volunteers, you want them to win, then you're going to be voting for that bar as well. Support your team, support your bar or your puff. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you will be entered in a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners are going to get a free box of Built. Not only that, but one Locked On fan will win a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. Man, that is really, really cool. You got to try Built. Built's the best protein bar ever. Seriously, they're so amazing, you wouldn't think that they're good for you. What makes Built bars and puffs so good? Well, for starters, so high in protein, 17 grams, low in sugar, covered in 100% real chocolate. That is right, real chocolate. Run to BuiltMarchMadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop in and support your pick. Again, that is BuiltMarchMadness.com. All right, guys, welcome back into Locked On Vols. It is your Friday show. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with me here today. Please like and subscribe this video. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Thanks for making it your first listen wherever you find your podcast. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, on Google Play, on Spotify, on the Odyssey app, wherever you guys find your podcast as well. Can't thank you enough. And it's an exciting time. We're talking NCAA Tournament basketball here. We talked a little bit of previewing, continuing to preview spring football as well, as we talked about the secondary, and that's spring football. It's happening starting on Monday. Can't wait to talk spring football and get you guys engaged with the conversation here next week. But we went over Tennessee's win over Louisiana in segment number 2, and now that means Tennessee will take on Duke. It'll be a 4-5 matchup in the East region. That's coming up on Saturday, and it's Tennessee, and again, it's Duke. So what do we need to know about Tennessee and Duke this matchup? What do we need to know about the Duke Blue Devils? Well, Duke, of course, the 5 seed, took down Oral Roberts, the 12 seed, 74-51 on Thursday. It was the game right before Tennessee and Louisiana. 74-51, Duke went out to like an 11-0 run to begin this ball game, and it was really just killing them right out from the gate. It was 40-23 at the half. Outscored them 34-28 in the second half. Ended winning 74-51 for the 23-point victory. So it was a rout from the beginning. And for Duke, you look in that ball game and they shot. Sorry, I've got some audio in my ear there. Okay, I had to close some tabs. That's what happens when you have like 17 tabs open on your computers and your monitors. When you look at Duke in that game against Oral Roberts, Duke shot the ball 48% from the field, 37% from three-point range at a 6-for-16 clip. You had their point guard, Jeremy Roach, who is an all-ACC honorable mention guy, 23 points leading the way. The honorable mention All-American Kyle Filikowski had 6 points, 9 rebounds, 4 steals, and 2 assists. So, again, it's not like he really dominated the game, but that's what I call a stat sheet stuffer for Filikowski. 6 points, 9 rebounds, 4 steals, 2 assists. He is a really, really good player. Derek Whitehead had 13 points off the bench as well, and again, it was a rout from the beginning for Duke, and the big win over Oral Roberts, final score of 74-51 to advance on to the round of 32 to take on Tennessee. And when you look at that, it's going to be a good matchup. I feel like Tennessee is so good defensively. Duke has got a lot of length though. I mentioned Filikowski; he's 7'1". Yeah, 7'1", Derek Lively Jr. as well. And they got a lot of experience. You look at Duke, Derek Lively Jr., a member of the all-freshman team, an all-defensive team member in the ACC as well. Tyrese Proctor, a member of the all-freshman team. You've got Jeremy Roach, or Kyle Filikowski, as I mentioned, a member of the all-freshman team, all-ACC second-teamer, and rookie of the year for the ACC. A lot of awards given out at regular season's end. Jeremy Roach was an honorable mention all-ACC player. He averages 13 points a game. I continue to mention Filipkowski, 15 points per game, 9 rebounds a game for the 7-footer, the second-team all-ACC guy, and the rookie of the year. He was also honorable mention All-American by the Associated Press and the USBWA, which is essentially the United States Basketball Writers Association. So a really, really good player. What more about Duke? Well, they finished the regular season ranked 16th in the nets, 5-6 in quad 1 games, 7-2 in quad 2 games, a combined 10-0 in quad 3 and quad 4 games for Duke. Undefeated at home. First time undefeated at home since the 2014-2016 season. They have won 10 straight entering the matchup. The last time Duke lost was back on February the 11th. February the 11th against Virginia, at Virginia, 69-62. So what's really interesting about Duke is undefeated at home, like 18-0 or whatever it was. They have 8 losses. A couple of those, or one of those at least, at a neutral site game against Kansas, 69-64, way back at the beginning of the season. But they lost at Purdue. They lost at Wake Forest. They lost at NC State. Lost at Clemson. Lost at Virginia Tech. Lost at Miami and lost at Virginia. But played fantastic at home. So obviously it didn't look that ruffled against Oral Roberts on Thursday night. But Duke is not playing at home right now. And so I'll be intrigued to kind of see what Tennessee can do to kind of disrupt them a little bit. Again, a very lengthy team. But this team that does not play very well away from Cameron Indoor Stadium. But again, it has won 10 straight. All right, last loss at the beginning of February the 11th. It beat Virginia in the ACC title game to win that one, and it's a pretty good team, and it's playing hot at the right time. Like I said, this is not your typical Duke team that's just number 1 seed, All-American here, and they're clearly above the rest of the pack in the ACC and in college basketball. That's not necessarily Duke this year, but again, like I said, a team that's playing super hot at the right time, really finding their groove under first-year head coach John Shire, and playing well at home, and, of course, playing well right now. So who's going to be, Tennessee or Duke, come Saturday? For Tennessee, it's a chance to reach the Sweet 16 in what feels like really forever. I'm going to read off a stat here in just one second whenever I find it. Tennessee, with the win over Louisiana, it's the first time it's advanced to the Sweet 16 from a Thursday-Saturday schedule since 2010, when Tennessee beats San Diego State and Ohio. 2014 and 2019 were Friday-Saturday slates. So Tennessee was very unsuccessful. This is a stat brought up by one of my friends, Osborne. Tennessee's been very unsuccessful on the Thursday-Saturday slates and trying to reach the second weekend. But Tennessee, an opportunity to do just that. So UT hasn't advanced to the Sweet 16 from a Thursday-Saturday schedule since 2010. An opportunity to break that streak right there. Did so in 2014 and 19, but of course those were on the Friday-Sunday slate. So, and also for last night, it was the latest tip for UT since 2010. And, man, it really did make for a late night. So we'll see what's in store for Tennessee and Duke coming up tomorrow. It's that 5 seed versus the 4 seed and a chance to go to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2019 when it ended in ugly fashion. That foul from Lamonte Turner in the corner, and Purdue went on to the Elite Eight. We'll see if Tennessee can advance on and get back to the Sweet 16, but a win over Louisiana last night got a little close there in the second half, but Tennessee able to close a basketball game for the first time what feels like forever and continue on staying alive in the NCAA tournaments. Already saw some craziness, that Furman steal and three-pointer to win at the buzzer there. That was insane. Arizona losing to 15th-seeded Princeton. Boy, I know you guys love March Madness. I love to watch March Madness, and it truly is just that. It is madness. Guys, thank you so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back on Monday. We'll recap everything that was Tennessee and Duke on Saturday. We'll continue to speak on and preview on what's coming up for Tennessee in spring practice. All that and more. It's coming up on your Monday show right here on Locked On Vols. Make Locked On College Basketball your second listen today. It's no better time to listen to the guys on Locked On College Basketball. Andy and Isaac do a fantastic job. Make that your second listen. Locked On College Basketball right behind Locked On Vols. Stay safe. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see how Tennessee does against Duke tomorrow, and we'll talk about it on Monday. This is Locked On Vols.